What does it mean to birth yourself anew? In birth, whether of a baby or a business, there is a shedding, a surrender, and an emergence into someone you've never been before. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry, your resident reproductive rebel. And in this episode, I sit down with Kimberly Spencer to talk about the alchemy of becoming, how motherhood and entrepreneurship both initiate us into deeper cycles of death, rebirth, and radical self-trust. If you're standing at the threshold of your life or business, this is a conversation to serve as a reminder that you are a portal, you are an alchemist, and you get to choose how you rise. Listen to Birthing Yourself Anew, the alchemy of birth, business, and becoming, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are. I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am so overjoyed to be joined today by Kimberly Spencer. Welcome to the show, Kimberly.
Thanks for having me on, Adrienne. I am so looking forward to this conversation. I know it's been a minute since we had our first chat, and I'm like, this is one that I could talk about the power of the portal of birth for forever.
Yes, me too. So just with that intro, you all know why I have this amazing human on the show. So share with our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So in my work sense, my level of devotion is to my clients who are visionary leaders. I've been a coach for 9 years. I've scaled my Crown Yourself coaching business and over different countries and multiple moves. I have done it in conjunction while raising babies as well and continuing to birth them. I am done now after 3. But and then we also have our podcast guesting agency, which we do consulting and setting up end-to-end systems for founders, for authors who want to get booked on more podcasts. And that was what my book was on, which is called Make Every Podcast Want You. But I have been a natural birth warrior for 3 pregnancies. And it literally is the greatest portal that I've ever experienced that changed my life. And it also changed how I do my business as well.
So this is exactly the part that I wanted to get at, because I feel like my first birth birthed the work that I do now. My second birth has very much shaped the way that I think about my work. I look at my work, the energy of my work, all in the same vein, but I'm seeing the frame shift quite a lot as a result of this second birth. So I would love if you could share a little bit about your birthing experience and how it's shaped you both personally and professionally.
So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old. My first business was teaching Pilates, and how that pertains to birth is when I started my coaching company. I started in 2015. The idea came to me in 2014. I had gone from teaching Pilates into becoming president of an e-commerce startup where we took that startup, got our product featured in all major magazines. Like I got to pitch into the first round of Shark Tank auditions, was growing this business, thought like, this is the thing. It apparently wasn't. I ended up getting bought out. And I had a successful exit, but back then I didn't view it as a success because I saw myself as a failure. I saw that I felt like I had, quote unquote, lost my business. And I signed the buyout agreement 3 weeks before I walked down the aisle and got married to my husband. So we flew off to Italy for our honeymoon. And I'm thinking, what do I do when I get back? Because I didn't really want to go back to teaching Pilates. I didn't have a product to launch because it wasn't my concept, my patent. I was really curious and on this quest of like what I wanted to do and how I wanted to combine all of these aspects of who I was and who I am and what I've created and what I learned from that experience. And I used to be a beauty queen. I used to be a beauty pageant girl. I loved writing and I wrote a screenplay and it was produced and distributed by Lionsgate, like a dream accomplished by 24. So I'd had these like different accomplishments in different areas. And I leaped off the couch and I said, crown yourself. And my husband goes, what's that? And I was like, that's the name of my company. And he's like, well, what do you do? And I was like, I think it's something like Marie Forleo. So I immediately went into productive procrastination where I bought the domain, I bought the website, I built the website, I did the branding photo shoot. I did all the things that make a business look really pretty and made no money. And in fact, I didn't only not make any money, I got into such deep debt, $40,000 worth of debt, and despair because I doubted every aspect of being a business owner because of the experience and essentially trauma that I had gone through with professional lawyers and dealing with that for the first time. And then I found out that I was pregnant with my son about a year and a half in. And I looked at my business, I looked at who I'd become, and I was complaining, I was shaming myself, I was blaming myself. I was both the victim and the villain of my own story, not even hero. I was looking for a rescuer. I was looking for something to quote unquote save me. And it was in that moment when I found out I was pregnant, I'd started looking for some form of a coaching tool or a resource. And I knew it was a mindset problem. I was in what I call financial bulimia or business bulimia, because as someone who had recovered successfully with no psychological or medical intervention from bulimia back then it was 6 years ago, now it's been about 15 years. I knew this was a mindset problem and I knew I could shift it. And I also knew that my son gave me a 9-month deadline. So I immediately put $5,000 down to get certified on a credit card, the money that I didn't have, got certified in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. And my son was the spark to my business, which is funny because he's a Leo. My business is called Crown Yourself. I don't think he could get more Leo than that. And he was born in the year of the fire rooster. And my first coach that I ever worked with, she kept on calling him Little Sparky. And I was like, what do you mean Little Sparky? And she's just like, I don't know. I just see him and I just see this like spark. And so he has been the fuel, the ignition to my company growing. And as it grew, and by 2018, I replaced my husband's income as breadwinner, as we say in our home, like mama brings home the bacon and he fries it up because I don't cook. By 2020, we were abroad in Australia in March of 2020, hanging out with the cast of The Walking Dead because my husband's a voice actor. And so he goes to all the Comic-Cons. So I thought the universe has a very twisted sense of humor. And I looked at him and I saw that his industry was going to shut down. And I said, well, what if we stayed? We've always wanted to live abroad. And so we ended up living abroad for 2 years and had our second son abroad over there. And my second son, what was interesting is I couldn't feel him in the way that I could my first. Mm-hmm. I felt different. I felt this hard, this metal, just this sturdiness with him, which was different than how I felt my first. And he was born in the year of the metal ox. And so he is this tough. But he's also, what was fascinating was his birth and that experience came at a time of massive growth. Like my company grew 300% in 2020 and 150% in 2021. And in 2021, I lost my father. I gave birth to my son. And then I lost 2 other family members and 2 family friends, and then moved countries in 2022. So it was a season of massive change. And my son, you're going to make me cry. We thought for sure he was a girl. I thought 100%. Done. This is a girl. And a month after my dad passed and I was pregnant with him, I went in for the ultrasound and it was the 20-week ultrasound. And they're like, oh no, he's a boy. And immediately I knew Like there's a connection that he has with my dad. He looks like my dad. He has like an athletic ability like my dad had. My dad tried out for the Olympics in diving. So there's like this really deep healing of an old wound because my dad and I had a very complex relationship. He was one of my greatest influences for growing a business, but he was also my tormentor in many ways for growing up. Like he loved me so much, but he also had his demons of alcoholism and addiction and history of abuse. And it's so like my second son is like this graciousness in getting to reparent and nurture the brotherly bond. And it's so beautiful to see that growth. And then we moved to California for a year to settle up estates. And if you've never dealt with someone passing who's close to you, like, oh my God, navigating someone's passing and their end of life dealings, it is like adding another business. So I got my mom a buyout for the business that she owned with my dad. We were settling up those accounts. And then we ended up moving to Texas. And that was always the plan. And while in Texas, I got pregnant again last year and I had my daughter. And my daughter was like this full circle healing moment of healing my own birth story from the perspective of my mom. And it's very interesting when I look at astrologically and where we move and my mom's astrology, and she has a moon in Scorpio, which I was surprised, but now I'm not so surprised about. And we live in a place that has heaps of scorpions. But seeing like my daughter's birth and her birth story allowed me to really heal the wound that I had with my mom. And there was a joke in my family that I was born angry because I was born via C-section after my mom was in labor for 48 hours. And she did the best that she could. She was an older mom. I was her miracle baby. And I never quite appreciated that. And my daughter had, I think it's called proms, where she broke her water and then like waited 48 hours to come out until 42 hours until active labor actually started. And I'm grateful for my team of midwives who supported me in like holding my boundary and my decision to still have a home birth. But that experience gave me such a point of view of surrender because I've been a natural birth warrior. I had my husband literally fought my second son because we were in a snap lockdown in Australia and my midwife wasn't even there yet. And my first son was born on a literal Netflix show called Being Dad. And he's Leo, right? Like typical Leo. He's gonna have a TV show for his birth. And my second son is a Cancer and he's like so loving and just like he's just this like clinging crab. And my daughter, she is just this magical Pisces of just wisdom and beauty. And it was through her birth that I realized, wow, my mom did the best she could with the resources she had available. And a lot of women who are like heavy, like raising the flag for natural birth, I think we can kind of shame those who choose to have a C-section or who are coerced into that choice. And honestly, I really had the ability to sit with my mom and have a conversation. And I said, thank you for cutting open your body for me. And that healed that relationship in so many ways. And I'm so grateful for that and the growth that now she's providing me in this next initiatory phase of like, oh, she came into this world while I was doing 75 hard. And now I'm back on it. And she's like, get your shit together and stop doubting your power, baby. She's like, we've got big things to do in this world and you're not going to hold back. That's totally the energy I feel from her. And she is vocal. Mm-hmm. She wants to get her voice heard, get out there. And each child has this beautiful way of unlocking me and that I've seen grow and nurture in my husband and my relationship. It's just it's a beautiful and trippy process.
It really is. This is why, like, I just connected with you right off the bat when we first started talking is like, my son was born in the year of the water dragon and he just has all of those magical qualities. I can't wait to dress him up as a dragon for Halloween. Although my husband and I joke, are we going to dress him up as a dragon or as an avocado? Because the kid eats so much avocado, he may turn into one. It's like his favorite food right now, but each birth is different. And like just in my birthing experience, my daughter took her sweet time. I had proms as well. Mm-hmm. And she took her sweet time coming out. my son was like, nope, I got things to do. Let's go, folks. And he was like hard and fast and furious coming out. And it was like 6 hours, which I was grateful it wasn't as long. But I think the pain intensity was like a totally next level because he was just not waiting. He came like a freight train. But it's kind of how he is now. This joke about becoming an avocado is really not that far-fetched because when it comes to food, the kid's like, no, keep shoveling it into my face. I can't get food into my face fast enough. But that's how he came into the world.
Yep.
Right. And I feel like so much of that energy, like he was this little magical being when I was carrying him, doing sound therapy sessions and all of these things. Like the sound traveled different and carried different and treatments felt different. My clients could feel the difference. And that magic has just continued since he has arrived earthside, but he has this wisdom that has been imparted on my work that has really invited me to reevaluate the rhythm of everything that I have been doing. Do you feel like each of your children's energy, like either became a catalyst for certain projects getting off the ground or for reflection and hibernation, or just because of the way they entered, then the energy that they imparted essentially as an imprint in your own DNA?
Yeah, 1,000%. And I would say with my first son, I didn't know how to receive it. Like now I feel like my daughter like allowed me to come full circle and fully embrace like, okay, you are here to teach me something as much as I am here to guide you and support you. And she is teaching me a new form of rhythm. She's teaching me another level of decisiveness of like of leadership, quite frankly, because just navigating 2 businesses and 3 children under the age of not even double digits, it requires another level of leadership. And like I said, she's like, my get your shit together and like, just be the badass, remember who you are and just step into everything you were meant to be. My first son, I didn't know how to receive the lessons. I learned some things for sure through that labor process. The number one thing that I learned through him was his labor was 26 hours. And it was because I was holding on to the fear of the next contraction. And because I was holding on to the fear of the next contraction, it didn't actually allow for me to release and have that full surrender and that full rest. So I was so tired and I was so exhausted. And that lesson I carried with me into business, into learning, okay, yeah, there's a contractive moment. Maybe it's a launch or maybe it's a customer challenge or maybe a cash flow crunch, but like allow that to be like, be with the challenge of that and trust that it's also going to subside. Like it's going to pass. But the more you hold on to that fear being the thing, or you try to avoid it, or you try to escape from it, it ain't going anywhere. It's just going to get worse. And it's going to get prolonged and sustained like torture, rather than really acknowledging that challenges come in surges, just like labor pains. And the other thing that I realized was through his birth, that was his first time working hard ever, like to come down the birth canal. And I'd made everything so much about me for 16 hours. And I didn't realize when I had that perspective shift. And that served me very well in coaching my clients who get scared of visibility or they get scared of putting themselves out there authentically. And I say, well, why are you being so selfish? That's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, pretty hard question. Yeah. But at the same time, their focus, when you're focusing on, oh my gosh, people are going to judge me. People are going to think bad of me. People are going to say stuff about me. Well, people are going to reject me. You're not focusing on the person who you could be serving. And that birth taught me that lesson. It ingrained it into my bones. My second child, Colton, he ingrained into my bones the ability to trust myself, Because there I was in an apartment in Australia, in a foreign country, 8,000 miles away from any family. And I have just my husband and my doula, who's never given birth before. She just like wanted the experience. And she was my massage therapist throughout the pregnancy, very in tune energetically, which is why I hired her to be like my doula and just kind of be there. And I said, well, basically, I just need like massages in between. So in between contractions and help clean up some stuff. And she was like, yeah, happy to. She was like totally down for it. So, but as the contractions started to come and I start like, because Colton came like a freight train, he was just like, I expected that with my daughter because I was like, oh, he came fast. He came in 4 hours. I was like, holy moly.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks, he had been lingering in this, like, I think I might come. No, I think, no, maybe no. And then he wanted
second child thing.
He wanted to be like his brother. So, like, honestly, I feel like he wanted to be like his brother so much that he just had to be born in the same month. Because every time I think I'm like, he's born on July 1st in Australia, but in America, he's technically born, and speak of the little man, he was born on June 30th. And so I keep thinking, oh, he's a Cancer, so he's in June, but no, he's July 1st. And when he came, I was there. He just was like, I'm here. And I knew my husband didn't even have the birthing pool filled up yet. Like we had figured out how to build the bathtub. And he was like, oh, given our last one, it should probably take like 8 hours, maybe. Like we'll just have it. No. So I hear my husband like hammering away at the sink to try to fill the dang birthing pool. And I get to I tell my doula, and I was just like, I think you just need to fill the bathtub. And I was like, because I felt it. I was like, I feel like I need to push. There was a moment of like fear initially of like, nobody knows how to do this. And then I was like, wait, no, I know. My body knows. I can trust my body. I can trust myself to do this. And it's funny, when I shared my birth story online, that post actually got me several $1,000s worth of clients, because the number one issue that most of my clients deal with on a depth, like deep level in their businesses is trust, is that self-trust. And in knowing that your way of doing things and how spirit, intuition, you are guided to do those things, that's your way. And there's nothing wrong. In fact, that's the fastest way to fast track your success, like, and lean into that rather than like, oh, I don't know. And this expert says this, and this person says this, like trusting yourself. So being able to really be in that space of trust. And I remember that moment of trust as I'm pushing him out. My midwife is on the phone coaching me, like coaching my husband, who would like texted her pictures of like, is he okay? He's a little purple. Like just those moments of just being able to just know that I'm supported, that I have that support network, and that like everything turned out beautifully and fine. And she got there just in time for the afterbirth, which my husband's like, I don't know how to deal with this. He's like, I can catch a baby now, but I don't know how to deal with the rest of this. And that lesson of trust was what I needed in moving into the next phase of processing so much grief and processing so much transition, and being able to trust myself and trust the moves that I was making, and trust that, yes, it was right to leave the place that we loved in our home in Australia. And yes, it was right to move back and get my mom and support her. And yes, it was right to move, like being able to trust and making these big life decisions very quickly. That was just etched in my bones with him. And then with my daughter, so much just presence. My big lesson with her has been in beingness, and in also being okay with my own bigness of my beingness. That is a big one.
And now we will take a short break from our episode to share an offering that will take your healing to a whole new level. How would it feel to stress less, feel more spaciousness in your body, all while reducing physical symptoms? I can tell you from personal experience, it's one of the most empowering and freeing experiences one can have. Rebel Remembered is a year-long journey using goddess archetypes, body wisdom, and ancient modalities to bring a level of health to your body unlike anything else. As a Chinese medicine practitioner, it has always been clear to me that the emotional body is at the root of physical symptoms in the body.
This program is truly holistic, addressing physical symptoms by exploring spiritual and emotional themes, much like this episode. This opportunity only opens once a year, so be sure to get on the waiting list for when enrollment opens this fall. The link is in the show notes. And now, back to the show.
And the big thing that came through with her was in my tales of capacity that I have been lying to myself about. And
ooh, that's a big one. we all tell ourselves those stories. Yes.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, some can be a legitimate tale of capacity where you're like, I literally don't have time in the day to do this, but then how can I still get it done? And so she's really helping me restructure my thinking as a leader, as a business owner, not just as a business operator, and being able to shift into a next level of devotion and service to the mission that, of course, it involves my kids, and of course, it involves my body, and of course, it involves my husband, and of course, it involves my family, and of course, it involves my businesses. Like, it's those tales of capacity of like, this is the thing that I feel like I need to shrink. And it's funny, I was on a call with my best friend and she said, I can always tell when you're questioning your capacity is when you start to feel shrinkage. Mm-hmm. And that fear that Marianne Williamson speaks about is that like we fear our light more than our own darkness. Yes. And like really, truly, like if we were to lean into the light of all that we can actually create in this world, like how much are you actually leaving on the table?
Mm-hmm. And that's such a powerful thing to think about, to process through your nervous system. Like just that in and of itself. And I feel like that's where the birthing process for me has been so powerful is, and I talk to my clients about this all the time too, the fact that there is an ultimate surrender and an ultimate trust that happens when you're in the birth portal. And if you can do that in that moment, why can't that lesson be carried through as a thread in the rest of your life as well? Because society has told us for generations that we can't be too much, we can't be too loud, we're not supposed to be heard. And the list goes on of patriarchal nonsense that we've been fed and saturated in for so long that we all believe it. But the truth is just what you said, that we're afraid of our light, of our full potential, of the fact that we're limitless, and that if we learn how to truly surrender and trust that our capacity for what we can bring into this world can be so much more than we could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it requires you to think and feel beyond. And one of the biggest ways that I do it is I really have to get back into my body. Like I loved and I fully embraced that postpartum period of being able to take the full 40 days. And I did not get up off the couch. Like I honored myself. I let myself be served. Went from couch. Maybe I would have family dinner at the table, but then I'd go back to bed and back to the rocking chair. And like, I would just enjoy that space of being soft and supple and like just allowing myself to be in that space. But I know where I really like to play. And as an Enneagram 8 who loves like a healthy challenge, when I started to struggle postpartum with the anxiety and postpartum depression kind of coming back, and it like for me, thank God for my midwife who finally was after 3 children said some women don't get postpartum challenges, like mental health challenges, until they are 12 to 16 weeks. That's always when mine have hit. That is always when mine have hit. So being able to have that permission and just say, okay, we're in that space of this like massive hormonal change. And here's my hypothesis. It's completely untested and unfounded. But I think we all know the second trimester is like that feel good, get shit done semester. I think the second trimester postpartum is the same, but it's like the flip side. It's like the underside, the shadow, the what's below that get stuff done, like nesting, put things together. Like for me, I always I launched my books that in the second trimester. I was like out traveling, doing speaking gigs. Like I was like, I feel like I'm on fire. And then my third trimester with my daughter kicked me in the butt because I got hit with basically like a borderline anemia. And I was there in that space. And so I allowed myself to rest a lot more. And I let myself, and so that third trimester really mirrored my first trimester postpartum. But then that second trimester was like the flip, the second trimester postpartum. My hypothesis, and this is just unfounded, but this is just my hypothesis, is that that is like the shadow side of like where all that stuff of who you were gets to now, like you're going to look at deep stuff inside and see what is no longer aligned, what no longer fits, what no longer suits, what beliefs, what habits, what patterns, what thought patterns, what ways of behaving. And that also is in postpartum, especially in the US, that's when people start piecing out. Like in the first trimester, they like want to come over, they want to see the baby because supposedly the newborn phase is the hardest. I laugh saying that.
Yeah.
I can understand if there's a colicky baby, but like I was blessed with very good sleepers, like pretty solid, like they're pretty calm babies if you're giving them the attention, what they desire. So that ain't nothing to toddlerhood or like the joys of now I'm at like my eldest is 8 and I'm like, oh, we're getting into discipline and social cues that we're picking up on and the belief systems that, oh, there's that limiting belief that I didn't think he would pick up on that he subconsciously got, but I know is definitely from me, and being able to go through the forgiveness and work through those steps as well with him. Like it's just parenting is personal growth and evolution on steroids. And then do that paired with building a business at the same time. Holy crap. Like that's next level spiritual evolution right there for both.
I love that. You know what? I think there's something to your hypothesis, actually, because you saying that, honestly, that was the hardest stretch for me. I feel like postpartum anxiety kind of hit a completely new level of real. I didn't have it with my first one, although I definitely had more of the blues with her. But after month 3, I feel like that took me by storm in a way that I was not prepared for, but there was a lot of reflection. Some of it around like my physical limitations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I did get a little more help at the beginning. People were kind of starting to look at me like, well, you had your baby a few months ago. You should be able to do things now. And having 3 older teenagers and my little guy, there was less compassion for the fact that I was still very deeply in the healing process. And I was still really kind of on the struggle bus a bit around the 6-month mark. And then right around like that transition from month 6 into month 7 postpartum, I started to feel like the clouds parted a bit and the sun came out. And it was a little less like, so what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Like those really deep questions that I found myself ruminating on the 3 months prior. I felt like some of the answers started to come, some of the light started to shine through again. And I really do think there's something to your hypothesis here, because it's like you're far enough post-birth that people don't look at you and go, oh, you just had a baby. But you're far enough post that you're definitely not 100% yet. And it's been long enough that people around you, as well as internally within yourself, you feel like you should have the capacity to do more than really you can. If you were to be honest with yourself and say, do I have the capacity for this right now? I think one of the gifts that my son gave me is to learn how to slow down. That being in your body part that you were talking about really resonates with me, because I'm an Aquarius. I live in my head. And so he really brings me down into my body and down to the earth and out of the clouds, which is very helpful. But learning how to be more embodied and slow the pace, and that slowing the pace doesn't mean I'm failing, is a completely different concept, because I was always a hustle and get it done and build the thing and kind of person. And I had to take a step back and really reevaluate the entire way that I was doing business through this birthing portal that I've stepped through. It's like every time you step across the threshold of matrescence, you are born anew.
And it really is, it's a full identity recalibration. And it's a recalibration as to how you want to do what it is that you want to do. And sometimes those old things that you were doing or the way that you were doing, I don't think it's always like chuck everything that you were doing. It could be the way that you were doing. It could be the role that you were playing. Like for me, I really had to assess, because I had questions like just several months ago of like, do I even want this? And feeling like it would be so much easier if I was just a stay-at-home mom, and like that would be so much easier. And then at the same time, I'm like, no, that's not the right answer. That's not it. And I was searching for like, what is that answer for me? And that the answer really was in elevating my role, not in decreasing or taking things away, but in really operating like, how can I get myself to live fully and only operate in my zone of genius inside of my business, so I'm not doing any form of the operations of anything, and I'm able to be in that space of an elevated CEO. Because I still would dip in and be like, oh, let me just fix it. Let me just hop in. Nope, mama's out of that system. Kajabi? I'm like, I'm not going in.
Yeah.
That is, and being able to say, no, I am removed from that. And that is a game changer. Like we're still in the process of that, of like pulling my tentacles out of the things. But at the same time, it feels like, I'm like, that's the answer. It wasn't in eliminating the role. It was actually in elevating it. And that's the power that I think children give, is the power of perspective of like, what is it that you truly deeply want? Because I think, especially the kids being born these days, like they are some conscious babies. And there is an awareness of these souls that are coming into the world, and they are part of the mission. And I think that a question that I get a lot is like, well, how do you do it all? I mean, I was like, well, first of all, do you ever ask a man that? But you ever, anyone? No? Okay. But like being able to see, like, I take my kids for walks. I take my kid, like, so it's not just me doing like a workout. It's like my kids are in the gym with me. Sometimes they're crawling on me. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're like doing their own thing, and allowing for you to just be in this constant state of role modeling the way. So one of my son's favorite things, and this has always been since he was a kid, is working with mommy. And so now he's 8. Now he gets an actual W-2 role in my company, and can actually, there's some good investment strategies to come with that as well. That's just my business coaching side coming out. But that's the power. Like he's always loved to work with mommy. And just yesterday, we were taking a walk up the hill and we were out in nature. And I said, well, your role that we're training you for is for film. Like he loves shooting little videos and taking pictures. And I was like, well, I need content. So your job is to be the content creator. And he was so excited to grasp onto that task and that responsibility. And I think that when we can incorporate our kids into our dream, instead of thinking in the old way that has been for the past 100 years, here's my business life, here's my home life, and they're not integrated. And I think the more that we live into this Aquarian age that we are in, the more we're going to see greater integration of home life and business. And how do we navigate that way? Because it's not going to be in any system that we've been able to use before. And so systems where it's like, oh, shut up, don't be seen and don't be heard. Let me just put you off over here into some place where I don't have to see you. And then I come home and then now I get to be mom. That I think that is an old model that's not going to serve where we're going as a society, as humanity. And we're going to see a lot more integration, but that integration phase is challenging because it does require you to slow down and to teach, because you're teaching them as you do it. You're not just doing it and, oh, let me do it for you, and getting into that control, former recovering control freak here, space. You're able to be in that space, like teach and guide and learn. So there is a slowing down requirement. I see it even just with my husband with cooking. Like, it's easier for him to just do it himself and cook all the meals. But when he brings the kids in to, especially not Reagan, not the littlest, but like when he brings the boys in to build banana bread together, and there's a slowing down process of how teaching those life skills that needs to happen. And I think for me, seeing my kids as integrated into my vision for the success, like I don't see success without them. Like, if I get that wrong, I don't see myself as a success. I want to see the kids living, thriving, healthy, amazing lives with tools and resources. And like, I want to see my clients living healthy, amazing, thriving lives with tools and resources and thriving businesses and making money. Like, it goes hand in hand. And I think we need to eliminate the separation and create greater unity within the two roles of just because if you're a leader of your home as a mom or as a parent, you can also be a really badass business leader. Mm-hmm. And but it's when we surrender that control. And I love that you use the word surrender, because it is 1,000% that word.
Yes, definitely. Well, and I do this with my kids too. Like, they go to shows that I'm a vendor at. They have learned all kinds of public speaking skills, standing in the booth with me, talking to clients for me. Like, if I'm doing a demonstration, all my kids can talk about the work and the business and all of those types of things. My youngest of my 3 teenagers has decided that she wants to be a little more hands-on, and she helps me do order fulfillment, and she creates graphics, and like, I mean, and all of these are skills, right? Like, that she's going to be able to put that on a resume and take it with her. She learns like work ethic, right? And like, when I go to these shows, a lot of people look at me and go, what are you doing with your kids? Because they know how to communicate beyond a cell phone and grunting. And I'm like, yes, because I decided that homeschooling was aligned for our family. I've been doing that. I incorporate my family into my business and my work. It really is a family affair. And it makes a huge difference. They all have a sense of pride when they have a chance to walk away from some of those interactions and be like, oh, I talked to this person and they were so excited. And it's amazing to see how, like, even the one that hates talking to people the most, and I totally witness her and respect it, but she just lights up when she has these opportunities to make these meaningful connections. And she always walks away from these shows, even though she drags her heels going in. She's almost 16 at this point, but she comes out of it going, oh, and this, and mom, and she's like bubbly and has like these exciting things to contribute. She started taking pictures and has just recently gotten really excited about photography. I've used some of her images in my social media. And so, like, it's so cool to be able to put their art and their energy and their creativity into what it is that I'm doing. And so I completely agree with you. Like, our kids, like, I didn't have the usual birth from my body story in terms of birthing as a parent. With my oldest 2, I adopted them, and they are beautiful, and we all have our own birth story, right? In terms of how our family came together. But, you know, this is a collaborative, co-created experience working through my business in this house. And then the birthing portal has taken me in new places as well when I've actually birthed of my body. So our womb space is our creative center, our generative space, whether we are actually birthing children or we're birthing our creative energy into the world. This is our powerhouse. And I love what you said about nobody's asked a guy about how they juggle it all. It's like, yes, I get that question all the time. They're just like, man, you have like 4 kids and a business and you're like still under your postpartum. Like, how do you do it all? I'm like, well, I'm not the only one in this equation.
Yeah. I asked for support. It was funny. I posted in a group because I was going for a 1-day mastermind, and I posted locally looking for a babysitter. And I was like, well, the babysitter's going to be there with my husband, like, and our 3 kids and our new puppy, because that we decided, why not? And it was so interesting, the response that I got from so many people. It was a lot of negative, and I was like, whoa, this is a symptom of a larger problem with society. A, you're watching too much celebrity gossip. B, like, I honestly, why can't men also ask for support? Like, what is wrong with that as well? Like, I think when men are able to have and reach out and feel supported as well, like, it's not just women, it's a full family unit. And I think that when we can come together as a community and really support parents, I mean, one of my favorite speakers is Tom Bilyeu. And he was saying on a podcast, like, the hardest job, and he has chose, like, they're not having kids, or so they say, but he's like, the hardest job is being a parent. Like, and that job deserves so much respect and reverence for the fact that you are ushering in the next generation. And I really pray you do it consciously and just be aware that everything, like, the greatest example, like, I'm an entrepreneur. I saw my parents being entrepreneurs, like, complex though our relationship was and the challenging in my early years, like, I got to see them build a business from nothing. And my mom was pushing me in the stroller, walking around, passing out flyers. Like, I got to see that you get the fruits of your labor. Like, that was inspiring for me. And when you recognize that you are in the most profound position of role modeling the way for what's possible with your kids, why wouldn't you go for your dreams simultaneously? Because you can talk the talk and say, oh, you know, you can go achieve your dream, do whatever you want to do. But if you're not role modeling that for you, they're not going to see that. They're not going to believe it, because kids, they very rarely do what you say. Very rarely. But they do what you are.
I have to say, I'm at the teen stage. Yes, I resonate with that. They don't ever do what you tell them to do. Yes, but it's true. What you do, I call it with my kids, walking your talk. Mm-hmm. You can talk a great game. I love that you're saying this. However, show me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have entrepreneurship modeled for me, but I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. And the environment that I was raised in, that there was a lot of fear around taking that leap to be on my own. But my own best gamble is on myself, because I know what I'm capable of, and being able to demonstrate that, all the highs and all the lows and everything in between, to my kids, I feel like has been a completely different experience. So I want to just close this with a final thought. What would you leave our listeners with as this final kernel to tie this all together?
You are a powerful creator of your reality. Whether you are birthing physical children into this world, raising them, be that conscious creator and step into that space. When you embrace the belief system and the identity that you are creating your reality, game over. Like, it's actually more game on, because then you have the power within you to create magical, wonderful relationships, businesses, experiences that can literally transform and ripple beyond you.
I love
Go forth and conquer.
Yes, go forth and conquer. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining me today and for sharing all of your beautiful birth stories and birth wisdom with our audience. This has been such an incredible conversation.
I have loved it so much. Thank you, Adrienne, for having me on. It has been my honor.
And until next time, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrian Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.